This hotel behind me is the very best in Minnesota and possibly the entire Midwest. It is the only 5-star hotel in the area, and as a bonus, is right next to where I grew up. So of course, I had to do a full review. I travel around the world and review hotels out of 50 points in 5 categories. The categories are the ambiance, the room, the dining, the service, and the it factor. I'm not associated with the Four Seasons, just a guest staying here and paying full price. Let's kick off with the ambiance. Kicking off the ambiance section, there are 2 pools here at the Four Seasons. There's an indoor and an outdoor pool. So of course, you wouldn't be in the outdoor pool in the winter in Minnesota, but the indoor pool is there for you just in case you still want to get a swim in. They have a little gelato station here next to the pool. It's pretty busy throughout the day, but why wouldn't it be? It's an outdoor pool in Minnesota. The most interesting thing in this indoor pool is actually above us. So they brought in an artist to design the ceiling here, and they used wheat as an inspiration. So it's meant to be wheat blowing in the wind. Four Seasons had 2 words in mind when they were developing this hotel: industry and innovation. Industry referring to the industry and major organizations that are headquartered here in Minnesota. You might not know this, but Target, Best Buy, General Mills, all are in Minnesota and Minneapolis. So therefore, industry travelers are staying at the Four Seasons. Innovation refers to the level of luxury that they took this hotel to. Truly nothing like this has been built in Minnesota or much of the Midwest up until this building. They have an entire wellness floor here at the Four Seasons, which includes the spa, the 2 pools that you saw earlier, and the gym. Now, the spa menu doesn't really have anything that unique or interesting to show you other than the outdoor Nordic sauna experience. Obviously, you wouldn't be in here in your full clothes, but the idea is in the dead of winter here in Minnesota, it can get into negative Fahrenheit temperatures outside with snow all on this balcony. So you come in to your hot, dry sauna experience and you go right out into the snow, pour some cold water on top of you from the buckets, and then come back into the sauna. And you do that for 75 minutes. And there's hot tea, there's some nice amenities that are included with it. So this experience is $165 US to go hot to cold to hot to cold. But what an interesting experience to have here. This is a gym you might actually want to work out in. It is so spacious and beautiful, which is true of almost all gyms that are in Minnesota. As I mentioned, I grew up right next door, and my first job ever was at the Lifetime Fitness right over there in Plymouth, Minnesota. And that gym was also so incredibly well designed, better than really anything I've found in both Los Angeles and New York. This gym is no exception to that. The final part of the ambiance section is the gardening and the maintenance and cleanliness overall, which, as you can see, is very well manicured and maintained. Those views that you have from most locations in the hotel are really stunning, from the Mississippi River to downtown Minneapolis. Outside of that, the hotel itself isn't really the most beautifully designed. I didn't love all the materials that were inside of it. It feels kind of like a cold office building in certain parts. And although, yes, they do have that very nice centerpiece in the lobby, not much of the rest of the hotel is that incredible or really noteworthy. I gave the ambiance a 7 out of 10. They officially let us know the room is ready, so let's go take a look at the best rooms in Minneapolis. There are 222 rooms here at the Four Seasons. 39 of those are suites. It is quite the operation that they have here. In fact, it takes over 300 employees to maintain this shining silver tower. I booked the base level room with a corner view. Let's go take a look and give it a review. First thing when you walk in the room is the mini bar. You have your standard espresso pods. However, these ones are biodegradable and compostable. They have Rishi tea complimentary, so they have different tea packets. They also have a little tea kettle and the mini fridge, which is not that impressive and does not open very far. One thing I appreciated about the mini bar here is the menu is very clear. And it's all priced relatively reasonably. The snacks are around 10, the drinks are around 6. now to the room. This goes for anywhere between $1,000 to $1,300 US per night at the time of recording this. Some of the penthouse suites, however, go for up to $12,000 per night. There is one standard California king-size bed. I've literally never had a bad night's sleep in a Four Seasons bed. I have this same mattress at home, and many of you do ask. I do not have an affiliate with them. I'm not partnered with them. But if you want this mattress at home as well, you can go right through the Four Seasons website. The pillows look very plush. I'm excited to sleep in this tonight. I very much love the automatic open blinds and drapes. That's always a great touch in the room. There's a small seating area with a pretty uncomfortable couch. If I'm being honest, it's quite hard to sit on and the pillows aren't that plush. All of the lighting is thoughtful. There's some backlighting behind the bed here that looks great. Otherwise, there isn't a ton of integration of the local artistry or really anything that makes it feel like it's Minnesota. The cabin, the wood, the lakes, being in nature. There's a certain sense to living and growing up in Minnesota, and you can't really feel it in this room. Let's go check out the bathroom and do the shower test. The bathroom is equally as spacious as the rest of the room. You have a dual vanity. It's a white granite with gray veining mixed with gold and glass. So high quality materials that they've used in here. All of the amenities are Le Labo, so not sure how you feel about that, but it's not my favorite in-room amenity brand. There's one interesting thing here. They set out a real white rose flower head. Beyond that, it's everything you would expect in a luxury hotel bathroom. There's bath salts for the bathtub. There's two robes here, which don't look like the most plush by far, but I'll put one of those on later to sleep in. But of course, the final thing to do in here is to test the shower. This is a big shower. So the shower test is 3 criteria points, which are the size, the ease of use, and the pressure. The size is extraordinary. You have 2 shower heads up above, both rain showers, plenty of space here. In fact, usually when I do these reviews, there's a big echo because it's a small space. Here, it's so large that I actually feel like I'm almost in another extension of the bathroom. Now, ease of use is not as simple. So you've got your 2 dials here. It's very confusing to know which one controls which shower head. Pressure is decent. It's a little inconsistent. One thing that I always look for is how clean the nozzles are in the shower. You can see here, these are definitely not clean. There's many of them are firing sideways. Close these. One final thing that's weird, you try to exit the shower by pushing out, which seems natural. And suddenly you're hitting the bathtub here. I did in the bathroom find this hair in the sink when I got in here. It is definitely not my hair, so I know this may be a deal breaker for some of you. It doesn't bother me that much, but it does allude to the cleanliness of the room overall. It is now time to sleep in this bed and give it a full review in the morning. But before I do that, I'm gonna call downstairs and order room service breakfast for tomorrow morning. Later in the service segment of the review, we're gonna see if the food showed up on time, if it was hot and fresh, and if it was accurate, because I always order the same thing. Let's call the front desk.
Okay.
Hi there, could I order room service breakfast for tomorrow, please?
Of course. What time would you like that delivered?
Can we do 7 a.m., please?
And what can I get for you?
Could I do the Eggs Benedict, please, and a black coffee?
Wonderful. Eggs Benedict and black coffee. We'll have that up for you at 7 a.m.
Thank you so much. Let's get some sleep. The Four Seasons beds always live up to their reputation, something I truly look forward to. So that's gonna absolutely improve the room score, as it always does. But let's get dressed and give it that final number. So this room is modern, clean, and well designed. I really was generally impressed with the stay, but I wasn't blown away. That shower test was passed, but by a very slim margin. It just needed a thorough cleaning. Some of those spouts actually didn't even spray water out at all, which at this price point is not really ideal. We've definitely seen other rooms that are more impressive, but it's comfortable, and that bed is always extraordinary from the Four Seasons. I gave the room a 7 out of 10. Now, there are 2 restaurants, a bar and a coffee shop, all here at the Four Seasons that apparently have all different types of cuisine. The most famous is the brunch at Mara. So let's get down there and review the breakfast. So the first restaurant here that is also the last restaurant of the day is Mara. They serve a full breakfast buffet here on Sundays that is truly legendary in the city of Minneapolis. All of the ingredients here are local. Take a look at this buffet. It's truly beautiful. I ordered the most popular item from the menu here. Very funny, they have something called Minnesota Nice, which is definitely a thing over here in the Midwest. So they just placed the omelet here with wild mushrooms, part of the Minnesota Nice. You've got roasted potatoes here as well that look amazing. Very interesting mushroom that you have here. Check this out. So basically it's this like wood ear mushroom. Overall, the omelet is very good. Really impressive breakfast. Definitely an impressive breakfast buffet over there, especially those desserts. So I can't wait to see what the rooftop lunch location looks like. So on the rooftop of the hotel is the beautiful Riva Terrace. This is an Italian light bites dining menu for lunch here. The most popular thing on the menu is the panzanella salad, which is an Italian salad with green tomatoes, strawberries, and instead of a lettuce base, there is a crouton base. It's got a balsamic vinaigrette drizzle over the top. Let's give it a try. I will say it definitely tastes like summer. The strawberry is so vibrant and fresh. The green tomatoes really complement the salad. They don't have a lot of flavor, but they complement it nicely. And you do get a little of that crunch with the crouton. A great start so far. So this is their smash burger. You can see it's a really thin patty that they have in here. Very nice. There's a honey mustard with the actual mustard kernels, the little seeds in there. Looks fantastic. Let's give it a try. Wow. The beef here is so fresh, incredible mixture of flavors in the burger. You've got a really nice kind of tanginess to the Dijon mustard that's in here. The arugula adds a nice bite. And then beyond that, you have the double smash burger and this really fluffy brioche bun. This is definitely a must try on this Riva Terrace menu. Now, before we go to dinner at Mara downstairs and introduce our special guest, I want to grab a quick coffee at the coffee shop they have on site. So we're here in the Soca Cafe, which is a little coffee shop. I got a little espresso before we go to that Mara dinner. I have a very, very VIP guest at the Four Seasons.
Hey, I'm Ryan's dad, Jeff.
So when the Four Seasons opened this restaurant, they wanted to find the best chef in the Minnesota area. So they sourced Gavin Kaysen. So Gavin Kaysen has an illustrious career in the cuisine and culinary arts world. He's worked with incredible chefs like Thomas Keller and Daniel Boulud out of New York. He put together this menu Mara for the Four Seasons Minneapolis.
I've heard a lot about Mara, and I know it's typically ranked top 5 in the Twin Cities, if not top 2 or 3. So I'm excited tonight to try a couple of their menu items and see if the reputation holds up.
So the first dish came out. It's 3 sesame rolls here that we have. All right.
It's gonna fill you up because it's a very heavy dough.
This restaurant really is partially known for this hummus right here. The hummus itself is a really smooth texture. Then you have some puffed chickpeas that have a nice crunch to it.
I like it. What do you think?
It has almost a donut consistency to it.
I like the hummus. Everyone talks about it. It is good. Really excited to try the lobster risotto. What do you think, Ryan?
There's some really big pieces.
Let me try that.
Oh, I'm excited for that. Where's the closest lobster to Minnesota, Deb?
Closest lobster is at the Smack Shack in Bloomington.
I'm saying the fish.
Oh, we're big on walleye here in Minnesota. Very zesty, flavorful.
Citrus for sure. It's a very citrusy dish.
Lemon in here.
Moving on to the next course.
Love it.
Their baked chicken dish is a free-range piece of chicken here. They use a local farmer that actually raises the chickens by hand and hand delivers them to the hotel as well. It's very tender, very soft.
Not as moist as it could be, but the sauce definitely helps that.
It reminds me of grilling chicken out in the barbecue in the summer in Minnesota when I grew up. It's a very soft, tender piece, but it's not my favorite. So that was all of the main courses here. Definitely a highlight on the dining segment and will absolutely contribute to the dining score, but we won't know for sure until we try the dessert.
Exactly.
A lot of gold flake on there. This is actually a meringue. Doesn't match the plating for the rest of the dishes, I feel like. This almost went in a different direction, more like gastronomy, and earlier it felt much more grounded and like more local, and the plating was representative of that.
Beautiful.
We'll go first.
Who's trying? You got to get a little of that gold. Strong flavor. So far, my favorite thing at the restaurant right here. Yeah.
Doesn't taste like a tiramisu I've ever had.
No.
This one's almost too pretty to break, but we're going to. Let's go together. There we go.
Very hard exterior. I taste lemon.
It's like a frozen rhubarb ice cream. It could be that I'm biased. I mean, look, there's nothing more Minnesotan than the taste of an apple orchard or rhubarb or some of those like Midwestern flavors, but it's just not my favorite flavor.
It's almost too sweet for me.
You know what? You definitely won.
You like the tiramisu better?
I do think so.
I think I do too. Tiramisu was excellent.
So, Dad, overall, if you were to give it a dining score, just from what you had right here, what would you give it out of 10?
From 1 to 10, I'd say definitely 7.5 out of 10.
That's fair, and that's where I get my criteria from right here. Would it compete on the global scale? Probably not. But here in Minneapolis, it's definitely a standout, so we have to also consider what's available. There's no Michelin in Minnesota. See a restaurant like this attempting to contend on that same level. So a good end to the dining, and I'm gonna have to give it an official dining score after this. Thanks for coming, Dad.
It was so fun, thank you. Loved it.
The Four Seasons here does only have those 2 restaurants, so we've seen much better diversity in the different dining options at different Four Seasons around the world and different high-end hotels. The Four Seasons in Seoul, for example, has 8 different restaurants available to you when you stay there. I do love that they incorporate local farmers, local ingredients, and that there's an Italian menu, a Mediterranean menu, but there were definitely some inconsistencies in the flavors, the presentation, the plating, and my biggest critique, there's not a lot of options here. So considering this, I gave the Four Seasons dining here a 7.5 out of 10. Now, what really makes the Four Seasons so well known is the service, and service is such an important part of a luxury stay. Let's see how they come through. All right, it is 7:03 a.m. They were just a few minutes late. The Eggs Benedict looks incredible. It's the same breakfast potatoes as we had downstairs in Mara. And then you have the coffee. Let's see how fresh everything is. All right, so I've reviewed a lot of Eggs Benedict on this channel before. That is the heaviest by far. Some of the poached eggs are just thicker and more viscous. It arrived basically on time, almost perfect, and everything was hot and fresh. We won't know the official service score, however, until we talk about the service throughout the whole hotel and we give it that service test. So if you haven't seen the channel before, the service test is the part of the review where I call the front desk and ask for something a little bit strange that they're not used to hearing. In the past, I've requested things like a teddy bear cake being brought to the room, or a soccer ball being signed by all the staff, or even bringing multiple lamps to the room so I can have additional light. Here in Minneapolis, it's really the land of 10,000 lakes. It's also extremely cold here in the winter, maybe the coldest in the entire United States. So I have an interesting idea for the front desk.
How can I help you, Mr. Walker?
I have a kind of a strange request for you. I was wondering if we could potentially fill the bathtub in this room with ice for an ice bath.
Oh, okay. That should be possible. When would you like it done? Right away or later this evening?
Whatever available.
All right, let me start working on that and we'll update you on when we can get that over.
Wonderful. I'll be in the room, so let me know.
Thank you.
All right, let's see how quickly they can do it. And then, of course, I'm going to have to go in. Speaking to the service generally at the hotel, the chat system has actually been pretty excellent. They call it the You Betcha chat, which is a nod to the Minnesota accent, of course. Alongside that, when you check in, there's no welcome drink. There's also no turn down service or really anything significant from a gifting perspective for the guests that stay here, which I suppose makes sense from the price point. Overall, the service is very good, but it does feel very business, very corporate. I think a lot of this hotel has catered their service and their design and the room and many of the facets towards an international business audience, which means it doesn't really have that kind of special touch. Maybe other Four Seasons have, or other high-end luxury hotels around the world. All right, so I stepped out for just a moment and they filled the entire tub with ice here. There's a lot in there. I would say they knocked this service test out of the park, but I have to give it a final score, and what better place to do it than... So the service here really is Minnesotanized, considering the dining service, the 2 service tests, and throughout the entire hotel. I gave the service here an 8 out of 10. Let's talk about the it factor. So the it factor score in the review is the part of the hotel that makes you want to come back again or tell your friends about it. It's the history, the location, the value. It's the things that are the intangibles of a stay. Here at the Four Seasons, starting with the history of the hotel, it is only 3 years old. However, in that time, they've established a couple of traditions in Minneapolis, including the Nordic village. So in the winter, they build an entire village on the rooftop that has a lodge where you can get unique specialty cocktails, as well as little lodges that you can actually sleep in. Beyond that, I think they definitely could have improved on this and done even more with being in Minnesota, especially being the first 5-star hotel in the entire state. Part of the it factor is also the location of the hotel. So this BMW iX is the Four Seasons house car, and it can take you anywhere you want to go in Minneapolis. But to be honest, most of the things you'd want to do are within walking distance anyway. So as far as in Minnesota is concerned, this is kind of the best location that you could get, and the Four Seasons really considered that when they built this property. The final part of the it factor score is the value. It doesn't have the same kind of perks and amenities as a Four Seasons maybe in Costa Rica, but you do have access to the house car, the indoor and outdoor pool, spa, a lot of different things throughout this hotel. With all of that in mind, I gave the it factor a 6 out of 10. That was the Four Seasons here in Minneapolis, Minnesota in the United States. Unfortunately, it's time to check out now, but before I do, I want to give it a final score out of 50. If you add all of the scores up together throughout this review, I gave this hotel, the Four Seasons Minneapolis, a 35.5 out of 50. I've reviewed a lot of the top properties around the world, including many Four Seasons properties, so if you want to do a comparison, here's a couple options for you. With that, I'm Ryan Walker. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.